drilling the first hole in our boat?
There's a hole that's gonna stay.
Oh, there's a hole in our boat.
It's about to pour.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. I don't really remember how this goes together. We're on a boat. Pretty sure that had to come off.
Look at that. Uma has 2 little pee holes.
And nope, didn't need to take any of it off. You ready?
Yeah, slow and steady. Oh, this is gonna be great.
Oh, one other thing, gonna make my life just a little bit nicer. This week, since the lumberyard is still closed and we can't finish our face frames or finish tertiary bulkheads, we're gonna tackle the chain locker, because that's another one that we've been sort of ignoring. We've done some work in here. Ooh, that was fun. There's a ghost in the machine. We've done some work in here in the past. We've glassed in sort of like the backside of this joint a long time ago to make it stronger. And we've put the windlass in there. We put like a little divider between the wet, salty chain coming in and the windlass motor to keep them separated so that it doesn't just corrode immediately. Everything in there is looking pretty good. Our main 2 goals for the chain locker is to take every piece of stainless steel hardware off the deck, just remove every piece of hardware, because there's 100 different versions of holes that have been sort of temporarily filled in the forward deck, and the undersides are all just kind of bogged in there and they have never really been glassed over. And so the hull deck joint there is also a little bit screwy because we didn't fully glass it from the outside. So the first thing we're gonna do is like remove all the hardware, grind down the underside of the deck and glass over with like 2 more layers of glass like we did the rest of the deck, just to have like a nice clean finish, and glass the hull deck joint from the inside to keep it watertight. The second thing we're gonna do is grind down and clean down and fill in the bottom of the chain locker with foam so that we can glass the bottom of the chain locker above the water line so that we can drill a hole in the hull so that any water that gets into the chain locker can drain out while we're sailing. It's pretty standard practice on sailboats now. It wasn't back when this one was built. Now that this whole bulkhead is watertight, any water that makes it in there is gonna stay in there if we don't put a drain hole in. But first we have to remove all these wires that are for the windlass, and we have to remove the chain and the anchor, and then one of us has to go in there with a wrench and start undoing hardware while one of us stays on deck. I think I got the short straw on that one. And then do some grinding work in there. So we'll see how much we get done today. It's gonna be a long project. This is the motor for our windlass. Putting the separator between the wet, salty chain and this motor has been super useful because there's hardly any corrosion on this at all. And we've had it now for 4 years. There's just like a little bit of surface rust, tiny little bit of corrosion on the aluminum. We've definitely seen windlass motors just fall apart after 4 years. Salt water in the chain locker is just horrific, and not a lot of things can survive it. But separating that water from the motor is very, very worthwhile. Oh, that's a big motor. I think we can take the chain out now, and then I can finish getting the windlass out after. Do you want to go outside and grab like a pallet?
All right, a pallet.
You ready?
Yeah, slow and steady. Here goes. Further. Pause. All right, start bringing it down. Okay. Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our anchor.
Anchor's out, anchor chain is out, and now I need to like suit up and get in there upside down, start undoing bolts.
How does it look in there?
Oh, that's pretty good actually. There's no water. I'm surprised after all like the rain and stuff we've had that like nothing came down here, but the bow goes all the way down and then it meets the front of the boat in this very small little triangle. And the chain used to just like dump down inside of there, but I guess a while ago we put a little piece of temporary plywood in the bottom because the problem is the chain would sort of stack up on itself and then fall over and then create like a big knot of chain when we're trying to drop it through the windlass and it would get all stuck. So we're gonna create a floor in the chain locker, probably about the same level as the V-berth mattress, and then the chain will sort of pile up and lay flat. We might even put like a hammock for the chain or a bucket or something for it to go into.
Alright, I think we're going to start with the port aft and then work our way clockwise. So, you're clockwise.
Okay, ready when you are.
All right, everything is off of our bow. The only thing left is the windlass, but we forgot like a winch handle, so we can't actually finish disassembling it because we need to take the brake off. We have a lot of plans for up here, rebuilding everything. We're probably gonna keep the bow roller, maybe keep the bow pulpit, keep the windlass, but the cleats and the fairleads are all gonna change, particularly because of this little piece of aluminum. We had two of these, behind you, keep passing me that one. These two pieces of aluminum sort of sistered on the front edge of our bow, and they covered the hull deck joint. When boats are built, they build the hull and they build all the cabinetry and everything inside, and then they like set the deck down on top. And so the joint where like the deck comes down on the hull deck joint, ours was just attached with silicone. So back in the Rio Dulce, we like removed all of the tow rail and everything and glassed it over, which made a huge difference to the performance of the boat. But we weren't able to do the very tip of the bow because this was all a complicated mess back then and we weren't ready to tackle it. But now we are, and so this is getting redone and everything in the chain locker is getting redone. And finally we'll have like a completely sealed hull deck joint, which is really exciting. Found a winch handle in our storage unit. So we'll be able to finish taking apart the windlass and we can take that off. And then we're gonna take off our chain plate for the forestay. That's gonna be interesting because we have to get Kika up here, but on the outside of the bow, we're gonna have to build some sort of scaffolding or like drive the truck around, or
We'll figure that out later.
we'll figure something out. So we're gonna take the windlass off today. This is the brake that keeps it from spinning. I don't really remember how this goes together, but I'm pretty sure that had to come off. Yeah, and then this comes off. Uh-oh. And then this comes off. I'm gonna just take that off. Now I think this comes off. I have to remember where all these pieces are and keep them all. Go. And nope, didn't need to take any of it off. Fun fact, all the bolts holding this on are attached to the base plate. So I should have just been able to unscrew those nuts from the bottom and then take it apart.
So you didn't even need the winch handle or anything?
Nope. But I didn't know that, to be fair. Because, like, it's been 4 years since we installed this thing. There's 4 really long bolts that go through the bottom, and they've got nuts and washers on them. And if we took those off and we started smashing this with a hammer to try to break the Sikaflex, and they were through bolted, that wouldn't be good. But they're not through bolted. So I can just put it all back together.
I feel like maybe if we watched our video of installing it.
Work. Let's try it. Well, we can put that back together. We don't need to remember where all the parts go. That goes in there. That goes in there. That goes in there.
Well, on the plus side, we just inspected it. So that's good.
All right, so part of removing everything from the bow is also removing the chain plate for the forestay, which is at the very top in front of the boat. We tried to build some type of scaffolding with some metal pieces that we found at the yard. That didn't really work out. So instead, we're going to use the truck. I think that's gonna work. I think this is gonna work.
It's perfect.
Let's make sure I don't hit my head on it. Oh, this is gonna be great.
All right.
All right, let's do this. There we go. Well, our bow is completely emptied out. It's so clean. I mean, so clean. It's not clean. It's empty. It's so empty. We got the anchor roller out. We've got the stanchions out. We've got the forestay chain plate out. We've got the bow sprit out. We've got all the cleats and the fair leads out. And all the and the windlass came out, and we have all the things that, all the attachment for the dinghy and stuff. Everything is coming out. Most of it is coming back on, but in a better way. Because we're gonna design a whole new bow system. And so we want everything out in order to properly build everything back in. But you can actually see the original deck joint, which is nothing. The hull comes up to here, and then the deck just like sits on it. And then here is where we did the repair in Guatemala, where it's properly glassed all the way through.
I like your scaffolding.
Thank you. I think that worked out really well, actually. The right height. What will we do without the truck?
What's next?
Next, I'm going to clean up all this nastiness from the top of the deck, and then Den is going to be inside grinding and cleaning up the anchor locker.
You sure you don't want to switch?
I'm okay here. I think this is nice.
Okay.
If you want to switch halfway, I'm fine with that. Yeah, and then after we clean up everything, we'll be ready to glass inside of the chain locker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
exciting.
it is a hot day. It kind of rained a little bit earlier. It's about to pour. Damn it. It cooled off for a second, but now it's just the sun is just cooking us outside.
It's nice and air conditioned inside. So you don't want to switch?
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse. Outside is more comfortable, but it's hot. Inside is less comfortable, but it's not so hot.
All right, well, I now get the glorious task of laying on my back for a few hours in the chain locker, grinding the underside of the deck with the file sander. So there's hardly any room to work in there, and it's hot and it's claustrophobic, but I'm wearing a suit, listening to some good music. These little masks help a lot because you kind of forget that you are wearing them, except there's not much space for them in there either. I got a pillow made out of some trash bags and a Tyvek hood. Got one other thing. It's gonna make my life in there just a little bit nicer.
I just finished scraping off and sanding off the deck. Dan is still inside grinding and sanding inside of the chain locker. So in the meantime, I'm going to be washing everything that we took off the bow that we will be reusing on the boat. So this company, Release, reached out to us a while ago asking if they can send us some of their products. This is an all-surface cleaner. It's fragrance-free and it has no harsh chemicals. So no acid, no bleach, no chlorine, no phosphate, no petroleum, no alcohol. They use it a lot in aviation and in van life and trucks and also in boats. So we figured, why not? Let's give it a try. It could be a good alternative to, Lysol. We got this and we used it quite a lot in our truck. We've been loving it, especially the fact that it has absolutely no odor. So I figured, let's try to see if it can remove junk from the boat. So I've already washed the bowsprit and the anchor roller. Not bad. The real question, to put it to the test, can it remove all this junk? Can it clean this? This is a piece of Teflon that was on the bow, and I want to know if it will clean it. So let's test it out. By the way, our bowsprit, before we get into the Teflon piece, see the sticker right here? The black card sticker? This has been on our boat since we've installed it in the UK, I believe in 2019. We haven't taken it off, and it's been through sun exposure, it's been through salt exposure, it's been through snow, and it looks like we slapped it on yesterday. So if you want a Don't Back Our sticker that's never gonna come off, check out our website. Holy cow. So before I scraped all the Sikaflex off, I just wanted to see if the Release product would have actually cleaned off the rusty junk. And look at this. I mean, it didn't take off absolutely everything. I don't think anything could, but this is kind of impressive. And I know, yes, they're sponsoring this video, but I wasn't expecting it to be so clean. So I'm gonna take the rest of this off and I'm gonna show you the end result. Here is the end result. Look at this. This is basically new. There's some areas that were a little bit stubborn, but I feel like if I maybe let it sit a little bit, it would have come off. But I only used release to clean it off. This is kind of impressive. I hope that you don't think that I'm biased for saying this, but I'm actually quite impressed with how well it works and how well it cleans, and it doesn't feel weird or harsh or irritating on my skin. I definitely see that we're gonna be using this much more, especially when we're in the water, but even before, because this is a degreaser as well, and we're gonna need to wash the entire interior of the boat before we get to paint it and degrease it properly. So we'll probably get the concentrated version of this and wash the boat with that. So if you want to know more about them, make sure you check out the link below. There's also a coupon code UMA10 and they'll give you 10% off of your purchase. We've been looking for an alternative to chemical cleaners for a long time, and I think this is gonna be a good one. I think this is gonna be it. So, all right, let's get back to work.
Yesterday, spent 6 hours
In the chain locker, grinding it.
and today we're gonna put some glass up on the underside of the deck. It is an exhaustingly tedious project, but we've got to do it. And rather than making a template inside, laying upside down, we just did a template
On deck, because it's the same size, but we need to split it into like 2 sections because there's that piece of plywood between the windlass chain and the windlass motor, which is right here.
So we're gonna put 3 layers of glass up there today, and we're gonna make each one of them a little bit bigger like normal, so it kind of like goes down the side, and then all of the underside of that deck is gonna be super well sealed and strong, and then we can finish the outside someday.
As you can see, Dan's little workspace isn't massive, so we have to come up with a bit of a strategy to glass those layers in. What's gonna happen is I'm going to mix the resin, and I have 2 rollers because it would be a mess to try to pass the wet pieces of glass because they're pretty big and there's not much window to pass it in. And there's no space for them to have like a tray in where he is. So I have 2 rollers, and we're going to be doing this reload system where I'm going to wet a roller out, give it to him, and every time that he needs a new wet roller, he's gonna give me the empty one. I'm gonna pass him a fresh one that's wet, and then we're just gonna do this system over and over again. I think that's the best way we can do this. He's just finishing up bogging everything, and then we'll see if we can make this work. We're using epoxy this time because it's really hot in there, and the epoxy gives us a bit longer period of time before it cures, so we don't have to worry to rush everything. So let's do this.
All right, let's go.
All right, first roller.
Take back everything I said about how shitty glassing this was. That was way worse. It's done now. It's no Sistine Chapel, but I think it'll do. Chain locker's glassed, at least the underside of the deck. One of the reasons that we decided to do it is because there's been so many different forms of hardware mounted to the deck, from like what originally came with the boat to what we added to what we took away to what we added again. And so in that little triangle, there's just like Swiss cheese of little holes that we've been drilling and filling and drilling and filling. And now that we have a good setup and we know what we want and we know what we're putting back, we took out all the weird backing plates and bog and stuff that had been put under there for the last 50 years. And now we have like a really good, strong, smooth surface to start again. We still have to like kind of grind out and fill in the bottom and make the floor for like the chain to sit on, but it's gonna be much easier. I think we make an effective team.
I think so too.
That worked out really well. It was kind of fun to just kind of like stick my hand out and then just like receive a new roller.
I know. I felt like I was reloading your ammunition.
Like from the Civil War.
It's like, here you go.
Yeah, no, that worked well. I'm so wrecked though. That is just such an awful position to be in. Yeah, that worked out well. So that's done. Good job.
Fine.
An
Nice.
effective team.
Yeah.
You want to kiss this resiny face?
Just the lips. Just nothing else. That's not true because you're protected.
I need to clean my mask.
All right.
All right.
Cut.
So all of the glass work above is perfect. Today I just finished templating and cutting a floor for the bottom for a chain locker. And now I'm going to put a bunch of expanding foam underneath it and then grind it around and glass this in today as well. That way when the chain drops down, it has like a nice flat surface to sort of like pile up on. It's not going to go down into this void down there. And also this piece of wood, 93% sure, is above our water line. So at the corners down here, we'll drill a hole through and then put a drain so that it drains overboard. Got my expanding foam, part A, part B. Let's give this a try. Geronimo! Now we wait. This is what's happening down there. Oh. Do I see it already? Oh, shit. I see it hitting the edges already. Oh, yeah. Wow. That filled it up almost entirely. It expanded and it hit the top of the plywood. And if I had not been putting pressure on it, I would have kept going. But because I was putting pressure on it, sort of like stopped the expansion process. All right, I'll mix up a little bit more. Pour it in there and then start grinding and glassing. All right, our chain locker now officially has a sealed bottom. It's angled after ever so slightly, it's above the water line. The foam expanded beautifully underneath it, so it's super sealed. It's sealed from the backside, it's sealed from the top. The only thing left to do is tomorrow when it dries, we'll drill like a little hole to the side so that it can drain overboard. For the most part, this little nightmare is over. Definitely one of like the worst jobs we've had to do on this boat so far, but it's definitely gonna be good to have all that water exit the boat and not go down to our bilge anymore. I think that's gonna be a wrap. Put some holes in it tomorrow, but I'm done for today. It's late and it's hot. So, mission successful. All right, back on the boat. Last day of chain locker, hopefully. The epoxy should be all cured, and I just need to go and make sure
that it is cured before we drill our final drain holes in it. Oh. All right. Where are we at here?
Surprise!
What are you doing in there?
I wanted to test out our new forward cabin.
Oh my gosh, you're so tiny. I can barely fit in there, and you're just like chilling.
Just chilling.
All right.
I don't know why you were the one glossing in there. I feel like probably should have been the one doing it. But it looks really good in here, by the way. It's super hard. Oh, my foot.
I can't believe that you fit in there.
Oh, I'm gonna be so itchy. That's a bad idea.
Drilling the first hole in our boat?
It's our first hole drilling party.
I think this is the first hole we're drilling in UMA 3.0.
Oh.
Is that true? That's true.
That is true.
Because technically, like, the drain holes we did in the builds were kind of in like the end of UMA 3.0.
Yeah, but they're not official holes.
Yeah, this is an official hole.
There's a hole that's gonna stay.
Yeah.
It's a permanent hole.
Yeah, I think this is drilling. We're going to drill a hole on each side so when the boat's heeled over, it always has a place to drain. Yeah, this is the
It's our first hole birthday party.
Yeah, first hole. All right.
So don't f it up.
All right, let's see here. Oh, there's a hole in our boat. Do you want to go outside and film
see the
drill bit
hole?
coming through the other side?
Yeah.
So back up a little bit. So our old, our original setup was this whole compartment didn't have a watertight door here, and it was connected to the bilge through underneath the V-berth, and it came out in the bilge. So anytime that rain or a wave came over the bow, which when you're sailing is all the time, you get spray and splashed over the bow all the time. It would come in through the hole where our chain came down to the chain locker and would wash down over top of all of the muddy, stinky, corally, low tide smelling chain, and then make its way into our bilge. And up until now, it was actually pretty much the only thing that has been leaking into our bilge for the past 5 or 6 years since we glassed the hull deck joint in Guatemala. So our bilge pump, like offshore sailing, would go off probably twice a day because that's just how much water came into the chain hole. So now, hopefully, no water is going to be in our bilge because A, we've compartmentalized all the bilges, but also our main source of water coming into the boat was through the hole where the chain and the windlass was. And now there's a watertight door here, and the floor of the chain locker is well above the water line, and we have 2 drain holes going out each side. So any water that does come in there is going to kind of rinse our chain and go spraying off the sides and not go into the bilge. So we've eliminated like the main cause of water going into our bilge. That's the whole point of everything that we just did in there. And now we're going to test it by dumping a bucket of water in. All right. Wave over the bow with an insane amount of water into the watertight chain locker. Drain test. Take 1. All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Look at that. Uma has 2 little pee holes.
Actually. There's no way that that much water would ever make it in through the hole in where the chain comes in. It's mostly like drips and spray, and it does add up over hours and hours of taking waves over the bow, but it's not ever that much water. So yeah, that works. I just kind of want to see where the water level is and if there's any leftover residue. Port side's draining. Starboard side's still going strong. Port side's done. Starboard's still going strong. Yeah, good. Kind of wanted it to have like a slight lean from one side to the other, and it looks like it's leaning a little bit to starboard. I kind of just eyeballed it, but it does look, that's good, because then if we are perfectly flat, it is going to have a prioritized side. It's like maybe a tablespoon of water left down there. But if the boat rocks back and forth at all, that's why we put a drain on each side. Most chain lockers only put a drain on one side. But we put one on both sides because if we're heeled over really far, we don't want like pool of water on a port tack and then we tack, it comes out the starboard side. So yeah, nice, successful. All right, I'm gonna check it out from the outside. They're a little bit higher than I was actually expecting them to be. In my head, I was guessing they were gonna be down at about here. We definitely wanted them above the water line, but they're gonna be, we're probably gonna cover them with one of those little like fairing caps that they make. And they have like a little mesh on them too to keep like bugs from crawling in there. And that way, like if we push into any waves, hopefully water doesn't go up inside. But if it does, it doesn't really matter because it's a watertight compartment. I think it's pretty cool that we just drilled the first 2 like new holes in UMA 3.0. Many more holes will be drilled in the boat before we're done. Hopefully less than were in the boat last time, if that makes sense. We're trying for less holes, not more. That worked out pretty well. I'm glad that project's done. It was kind of a pain in the ass and uncomfortable and awful, but now it's done and it looks great. We're gonna head up in the mountains because it's hot and we'll see you guys next week.